Live from the BOD studio, it is Playin and Slayin. Welcome to episode number 94. As always, one of your hosts, Ty, here with Troy, and in the third chair, Mr. Raf Cordero. Welcome, Raf.
Hello. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, welcome back, Raf. Glad to have you. Glad you could find time in your busy schedule. I know you and Ty are constantly recording now, it seems like. I don't know.
Yeah, always podcasting.
Yeah. ABP, always be, or ABC, always be casting.
There we go.
There you go. Episode 94, the return from Gen Con. So we're going to go through the usual what we've been playing, maybe a little Gen Con influenced for Troy and I. And then, the hobby table, Kickstarter, stories of woe, and then a trip to the library. But after that, we have a very special segment where Raf here is going to interview myself and Troy on our Gen Con experiences. So brushing off his Gen Con press skills of years past.
My punishment for not going.
And we'll recap our experiences and what we got into at Gen Con in Indianapolis, Indiana, just a couple weeks ago at the point of recording. So memories are still fresh. All right. When you are playing and slaying, it is important to stay hydrated. So let's get into the what we are drinking part of the show. And Raf, I'm going to let you be the debut.
Sounds good. I am drinking Workforce, as I've mentioned before. It's pretty much all I drink these days. But this is their Blues of Mexicali. It is their Mexican lager, basically, that they do a pretty good job with. He went through a period where he was making like the Mexican lager, he had an Italian lager. He was like kind of the Peroni spinoff. He was doing all this sort of regional ones.
Okay.
But this one's stuck, and every now and then they do brunch at the brewery, and they'll make micheladas and Bloody Marys with this one. They're pretty good. Yeah,
that sounds delicious.
Blues of Mexicali, clean lager. Been on a lager kick lately, so keeping it going.
Excellent. We're gonna have to get one of those next time I stop down at Workforce.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's like an everyday brew for them.
It's usually in stock. So
all right.
Ty, why don't you go next?
Yeah. Sometimes one dessert is not enough. So you have a orange dreamsicle. I'm going to try to show this. So Sun King Brewing in Indianapolis, an orange vanilla cream ale. Not overly sweet, still pretty sweet, but it has a nice kind of the like body to it is nice and smooth from that cream ale. But it does taste quite a bit like those dreamsicle ice cream things, if you ever had one of those. So Sun King is, of course, located in downtown Indianapolis, and they're always a huge sponsor and part of Gen Con with the beer garden kind of out by all the food trucks and stuff. So this was a Gen Con find and brought a few 4-packs home.
Nice.
Troy, what I'm going to guess you have a Gen Con beer.
That's why I wanted to go last. The Gen Con beer this year, core strategy. It's what are they calling it? An apple cider.
Yeah.
So it's not quite a beer, not really a cider though. It's nice because it's kind of in between on some of that. So I don't know that, but it was good. Yeah, and this was what they did this year.
You don't see them very often.
I guess they're calling it an apple ale.
Yeah, Sizers had like a 3-month period where they looked like they were going to become trendy, and then they fell off again years ago.
So and a lot of the apple ales and apple flavored stuff is always so heavily like sweetened and apple. That core strategy is a very even kind of it really does meet the beer halfway.
Yep.
Yeah, it's almost like a shandy.
Yeah. That's a good,
versus
that's actually
cider.
good. Like an apple shandy. That's probably a really good way to describe it. Yeah. So good, kind of like Ty's. Really good. These are really good summer beers. I always think them, right? Kind of that sweet, crisp kind of thing. So it's good. Yeah. And they always do fun labels. And as I have my row of all my empty beer cans from all my Gen Con beers. So this will get added up there. So.
Now, do you do the collector thing, Troy, where you actually don't crack the top and you punch a hole in the bottom?
No,
No?
but I heard you're the one I think who taught me that, who told me that. Now I keep thinking about it. I'm like, oh, am I doing? I'm like, I don't.
You're never going to be able to sell these Gen Con beer cans.
I don't. What? That's
My dad, when I was growing up, had boxes and boxes in the basement of beer cans from different countries, different places, and cans. And that's where I learned that trick from, is his old beer can collection.
For more shows like this, check out the Goonhammer Media Network. More info at media.goonhammer.com.
Let's move on from beer to playing board games, because they go hand in hand. So, guys, what have you been playing? And Troy, you win longest list of the night, so I'm going to start with you.
Whoa, that's not usually true. So I will start with about 2 weeks before Gen Con. And if people, longtime listeners, remember last year, my daughter, Sarah, came with me to Gen Con. She was a little disappointed when she realized Gen Con was coming again, and I wasn't bringing her this year. So what I did find, and we've talked about this in the past, there's a group in the Milwaukee area called Dragon Sandbox that does kind of, I'll call it paid D&D sessions, right? You can pay, and they run it at a couple restaurants downtown. And then they also do like a dragonlings. Is that how you would say, little dragons, whatever it is? They also do a thing for younger players that they're doing on Saturdays, and they run that out of Old Guard Games in downtown Milwaukee over there. So they happen to be a slot. They ran a Saturday morning, kind of 2 weeks before Gen Con, kind of mid-July, and we'd kind of been looking. I'm like, oh, let's try it out. Let's try it out. And I can play. I played too, so it was me and her, and it was another two sisters. One I think was 14 or so, and another one was that, and another younger girl there, and then our game master was also a woman, and we had fun. I mean, Sarah had fun. She was probably the other two girls. They took them a little bit. One was, I can't tell. She could have been anywhere from 14 to 18. I don't know. And she was kind of playing the typical, like, I really don't want to be here, but then when we got to the final battle and we're fighting the Green Dragon, she was all in, right? It was kind of the typical teenage, like, I don't want to pretend that I really want to be here, but I'm here and whatever that. So, and then so we had fun, and you get pizza, and they bring pizza in about lunchtime. So I mean, it's only about a one shot, like a 3-hour one shot.
That's awesome.
Again, for Sarah, it was perfect. It was perfect, and she did well. I'm always like, how come you know every breath weapon for every dragon? Like she has this kind of residue D&D knowledge. I don't know how, but and then she struggles with remembering stuff at school, so I don't let her get away with that. She also knows 800 and some Pokemon, so I'm like, you can't get, like, okay, I don't. This is a motivation thing. I don't think it's an actual intelligence thing. So it was good. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think again, they have a whole line for more adult players and whatever. I don't know about that, but it was interesting. Like, you get a folder and pre-gen, and they do it. I can see they have a good job, because you come back and then you get like another sticker, so it makes it a little bit like, hey, you're kind of collecting as you to get you to kind of sign up and keep coming back month after month on some of that stuff too. So so I think, I mean, if it lines up on thing, and we may go back on a couple of times like that. Still not sure if I would. I mean, I have Ty, so I don't know that I would pay to play an adult game around that, but interesting concept. Again, really great guy that runs it, and the group there, and DM did a nice job. She did a nice job to handle. I don't know, Ty. I don't think I could, I couldn't pay you enough, probably, right? To like, Ty, you're gonna DM a 3-hour session for probably a 9-year-old, 12-year-old, and 15-year-old, and 50-some-year-old. Go for it. Yeah,
let's go. I've got an adventure.
I've been DMing my kids, and it's a 7-year-old and like 2 10-year-olds, and it's like, we get 45 minutes of good solid D&D, and then 2 hours and 15 minutes of like sheep wrangling.
I mean, that's just a couple of animal handling skill checks. You're good to go.
Yeah, but I can't fudge that roll.
If you're the dungeon master, you can, Raf.
Cool. And then I'll let Ty talk about, we've been continuing our D&D campaign, the new one that we got going last couple of times. So that's been fun. As I'm playing in Orc Fighter,
Artificer, right?
Artificer kind of mixed in there, kind of this idea of like a blacksmith who is able to endow his weapons with some kind of a little bit of magic stuff. So that's my character thing there. We'll see if I can make it actually work with the rules, but it's been fun. Then a little bit, Ben and I at Gen Con played a few games. So I got Clank Catacombs out, which I've had new in the box for years, because I think it's been out for a couple of years. It's, if you played Clank, which is our deck builder, you're building a deck to explore down into a dungeon, collect kind of a treasure and points, and then there's always like a timer built in on the game so that you have to get out, and then whoever can get out with the most points wins. Catacombs is kind of cool because the other one, the regular Clank, was a static board basically, and they had a couple different sides, and so there was some replayability, but there was definite strategies around where to go and some of that, and there's always some randomness, but it's kind of cool because the Catacombs, you actually now you have tiles, and so you're building the board as you explore, which is really cool because you don't, like, as you start, you're like, oh, you can't, you don't even know how you're going to get back yet because you have to build out that part to get there. So and Ben had never played Clank at all. I didn't realize like he had never played Clank, but I think we did that to you, Ty, too, right? When we played it once, I didn't realize that you had never played a lot of Clank either.
That was my first and only time playing Clank.
Yeah. So again, I think Catacombs, what I'd heard about it, people all were like, yeah, you're gonna like Catacombs, it's better than kind of the original. And I would say that it's pretty good. I still think it suffers from some of the deck builder things, and that like you have to kind of, the first turns you're kind of either doing the same thing. What's nice though is the difference is your deck's not very good, but you can definitely kind of go and explore, and you may run into some cool things in those first couple rooms in the dungeon. So yeah, kind of thumbs up for Clank for what it is. It's a nice, again, in and out. You should be 90 minutes, under 2 hours probably, to depending if you have 4 players or not, something like that. I talked about before, but I got Ben to play Seven Wonders Lord of the Rings Duel with me. Still really, really, really like that game. I got to get that to road. And then a couple events I don't think we'll talk about them on our Gen Con thing. Ben and I played Thunder Road, the new version of that, with a bunch of people at Gen Con who hadn't played before. I think I sold 2 copies of the game, at least 2, because they were one guy was
the Carnival of Chaos.
Not the Carnival. This is the straight version. Yeah, we just played the original version on that. But and I think I sold a regular version to that, and then the whatever the big one is that I have behind me. I can't think what the name of it is, but the giant deluxe set.
Oh, the Maximum Chrome.
Yeah, the Maximum Chrome one. Yeah, the guy who was playing, they were playing another one afterward, and he's like, do I get? Yeah, I'm like, and I just said the Maximum Chrome has a semi in it and motorcycles. That's your reason. Like, just for that, you should buy it. And so there was one still sitting at the Renegade or the restoration booth that I heard. So I think I got him a sale on that one too. And then Thursday morning we were looking, because the last thing you want to do at Gen Con on Thursday morning is be in the vendor hall, because it's at 10 o'clock. So I usually try and find something to do and go in there a little later after the craziness thing. And if you know the new version of FASA, so if you knew FASA games back in the 80s, right, they were kind of original BattleTech. They originally had the BattleTech license that now Catalyst owns. And then they had a bunch of other games around. One was called Interceptor, which was kind of a space fighter combat game. And I think Leviathan was more of the capital ship, kind of, when you think about it, prequel to kind of like X-Wing and Armada and kind of stuff like that. But what was it, Interceptor way back in the day was very like, I want to say, what's the right word, like simulation based. So it's like vector thrusting, very more like you would expect space combat to be, right? You're applying thrust and changing like that. It's not just directional flying like X-Wing. Star Wars pretends like that. You're maybe in fighting a biplane rather than
so more like Battlestar ship flying.
Yeah, ship flying. Yeah, where you can total thrust, which is really cool. And around that, and so the whatever is left, the rebirth of FASA, because I think I don't know who owns it, but somebody still owns the name on that. is kind of re-releasing Interceptor, I think, in the last couple of years. And so there was a demo play version of that, and we got into that and enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know that I have that space in my life to play that thing, but it was fun. It was it was interesting rule set, easy kind of to grab on. I thought it actually was fun to play. That's always around that. And it was funny, like we did have some good conversation. One of the designers was actually there, and it's always good when like the designers are running the game too. And all of a sudden you're like looking, and you don't, and he wasn't. All of a sudden you look at his name tag, and then you're like, wait, that's the guy's name that's on the box. Like, so I'm like, oh, he's one of the designers there. So we knew we were getting the rules right, and some of that. So I had a good chat with him too, around other things, because I was talking about, hey, you really need to be this. You probably need to bring this to Adepticon if you want. You probably get more traction in something like that. But
yeah,
it was interesting. But again, not as many people listening. So I think that's it. We may touch on some more stuff as we get to our Gen Con discussion, but those are the
cool
the B side of some of that pre and post Gen Con. So
all right, Raf, what have you been getting into?
Oh man, board game group has played a few weeks in a row of Brass Birmingham, which is that kind of game that I like pushed off playing for a long time because I want to think of myself as this big thematic gamer who loves the minis and the narrative and all that sort of stuff, and I am, but like, so I was like, oh, kind of would poo-poo that game a little bit, and then the first time I played it at Geekway a couple years ago was like, oh no, this game is very good. And so we played it a couple times in a row. I have felt the last couple times I've played, I've done very well, but I felt like I didn't have a strategy, and yet it somehow like worked out. And so we've played enough games now where I feel okay reading strategies. I never try to do that, the first few times I play a game. And it turns out I was doing what they call the BRIC, which is beer, railroads, iron, and coal strategy, which is a very common and effective new player strategy that is quickly beaten by experienced players. But like, I kind of stumbled backwards into it. So that explained why I felt like I wasn't doing anything, but it turns out I was. Which is a really cool game where you're building up cotton mills and iron works all over.
That game continues to be at the top of my I haven't had a chance to play and nobody will play it with me list.
Oh, really?
Like, we did try it. We were at BodCon last year, and of course it was in their library. And I got to the point of like taking it out and putting it on the table, and then we at least go through and set it out and started reading rules. And then I don't know. Then I think disc golf came or like whatever, and I'm like, we're not gonna. This
isn't gonna happen.
That was that. Yeah, we like it had a fleeting moment, and I'm like, but at least part of it, I actually wanted to look at it because again, it's like I've heard about it for years and years, and everybody's like, but I had never actually put my hands on it, so. It was at least nice to open it up, go through things, read. Yeah. I did start reading some of the rules to get a little bit of grasp to it. So what you said makes a little bit of sense to me.
Yeah,
that's about it.
Yeah, it worked out. The other one is, and this is like against every bone in my body. I've been playing a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh in my house, the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, which is like kind of miserable. Like it is so complicated. And there's no rotation, so cards are legal forever unless they're banned. So, like the cards get ever more complicated, and they don't have standard templating and keywords like a modern card game does. So every card is tiny text, 4 sentences, different effects. The order of the effects is not consistent. It's not like the summoning effects are always first, graveyard effects are always second. No, it's just whoever wrote it that day. And my 10-year-old, who I love dearly, has chosen this of all games to be his game. Like I tried Magic, I'm pushing Star Wars, I'm pushing Gundam, and I'm like, if you pick any of these other games, I will buy the cards. I want to play these games. And like, you don't have to use your allowance on booster boxes. Your dad is happy to handle that. But no, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And he's doing a little bit of that, like my dad thinks it's cool, so I don't thing. And I told him it was super complicated, and he took that as like now he tells people that he's playing the most complicated card game. But he's kind of playing it because he's not fully getting it. His 7-year-old brother's certainly not. So they're playing this like Yu-Gi-Oh! Scented card play is what I'm calling it. and every 30 seconds someone's coming into the room to either like half in tears because something doesn't feel fair and it's not because they made the rules up, or asking me like how a card works. I don't know how it works because I have to look up what the fusion zone is and all this extra crap. So I'm so pleased my kids are playing board games. Just so
you should have
proud.
got him to play Pokemon like everybody else.
He did, and like he kind of moved off of it. Now it's just like he saved up his birthday money and his allowance money, and he bought a booster box. I'm like, this kid is all in. I'm not pulling him out now. Oh man. And then I on my own have not had a lot of staying up late time. I'll get to that when we get to what we've been watching. Ty already knows, spoiler if you listening to the campaign trail. But I'm still playing a lot of Night Rain, which I talked about the last podcast episode, but I picked up Armored Core. So there's a lot of Gundam happening in my house, which we'll also get to soon. And I'm in full like, wow, cool robot mode. And so I picked up Armored Core for PlayStation, which is, I didn't know this, is by the team that does Elden Ring and Dark Souls and Demon Souls and all that sort of stuff. And I'm just having a ball. And I don't want to jinx myself, but I'm doing better at Armored Core than I ever did with Dark Souls. The games play very differently, right? And so when I play any of the Souls games, I am dying over and over and over again at the first enemy, let alone the first boss. Whereas Armored Core, I'm going a little quicker through. Although it was kind of funny because you play a lot of Elden Ring and Night Ring. Part of how you play is you like dodge through attacks, because when you dodge, you have like a few frames of invincibility, and that's how the combat works. You're supposed to like learn the timing, roll through the attack. So Armored Core doesn't have that. And so the first few times I load it up, I see like a whole bunch of missiles coming at me, and I just burst right into them thinking I'll clip through. No, and a face full of plasma missiles and explosions. But a few years late to this one, but it is pretty awesome. It's just really fun to zip and shoot around with 4 weapons firing at once.
That was I'll have to check that out, because recently MechWarrior 5, yes, 5 was on sale on Steam for a ridiculously low cost. So like Matt and myself and our friend John, we played a few rounds of MechWarrior and got our mercenary company, decked out. And I was like, oh, it's been years since I dabbled with piloting my own robots. Armored Core. So From Software, that's cool.
Yeah, and they've been doing apparently, like I played Armored Core 2 on PlayStation or whatever. It's always been them. That was their first big thing was mech games, not the Dark Souls stuff that made them a little bit more famous.
Nice.
But definitely worth checking out. It is kind of interesting, like MechWarrior, BattleTech are like Western style mechs, and Armored Core is much more in the like Gundam, Eastern Japanese style mechs, but still a ton of fun.
Nice. Well, I have not been playing Night Rain or Armored Core, but Raf, I've been playing a lot of Dune Awakening, a survival MMO with a greatly reducing everyday player count. But Tom and Danner and I are still living the dream out in the deep desert under the Sons of Arrakis, getting spice and having fun. But like, this is why I'm not doing any hobby, and that's what we'll talk about, is because a couple 100 hours of Dune through the last couple months is all I do outside.
Takes it out of you.
But I have had a chance to play a few board games, so I'm not going to talk about the RPGs that I did at Gen Con, but recently went up by Bryce and had a game day. Josh came up, so the 2 hosts that are not here went and had a game day. Troy couldn't make it, but the 3 of us went to Bryce's and played some garage board games, which was a lot of fun. Had some beer. Bryce cooked some pulled chicken, like barbecue chicken, for us in the crock pot. Super great. And we got Roth from Chip Theory Games, relatively recent release, kind of area control, dice drafting game. Each faction, it kind of plays in a completely different style. But ultimately, you're trying to score victory points by controlling zones on this peninsula of land, by defeating your enemies using these drafted abilities each turn, and then purchasing your own forms of like specialist troops to put out with your regular guys, and then first player to I think 30 victory points win. So it's kind of like oh, somebody's running away, we better try to slow them down. Evidently there is a co-op mode against an AI kind of rule set, but we did the 3-player player versus player. Had a lot of fun. It was a really close game. I pulled away by a couple points, and then Josh and Bryce were only a point or two apart from each other, so like it stayed really tight. I was glad that Chip Theory didn't use their usual poker chips for everything.
I was going to ask if it's still over the top production, everything.
Production is really nice. The mats were great. Like every faction had a like a mouse pad player mat, and the board was a mat. And then they had little kind of, each faction had different, I don't want to call them miniatures, but they were like plastic, tokens. They weren't meeples. They were like themed to the faction. So Bryce's was like an open white hand. Mine was a dagger for the Thieves Guild, like in the table. And I forget what Josh's. He was like a miner, so it was some kind of mountain or mining themed token. And then each faction has their own custom dice colors as well. So good production value, great like box control. Bryce had got the Kickstarter that had 2 additional factions, and everything fits in one. It was a lot of fun. I think 3-player games are really tough when it's area control, because you always feel like it's 2 guys ganging up on 1 player in the middle. And I kind of did this thing where I like consolidated on one side of the board, and Josh was on the other, and Bryce was in the middle, and they couldn't catch me. After Bryce started, I poked at him, and he started on me. Then Josh was going to steamroll him if he didn't fight him over there. So I got to just kind of sit on my side of the board and make a victory point farm. And I think that happens a lot. I think 4 players, there'd be a ton of interaction, and it'd be super interesting to see how the game plays. 3 players feels a little like one guy is going to be able to choose who wins. And then we also played Vantage. So Vantage was a Stonemaier Games release right around Gen Con that I picked up and played with my brother. We set it up in the hotel room and played over the course of a day or two, taking a turn here or there when we had time. But Jamie Stegmaier, I think, talks about this game being his kind of passion project for the last 8 or 9 years.
Oh, wow.
It is in the theme of like Seventh Continent, where you're building your board with cards as you go. You get a location card, and then there's 900 other locations, and there's something like 800 various items and allies you can accrue. But you're the crew of a spaceship that has gone to explore this far off worlds, but you have an incident and you crash land, and each player's escape pod lands in a completely different location on the planet. And it's Vantage because you only can see your location. You can never see the location card of another player, but you're utilizing kind of a pool of, in a very Stonemaier way, like Scythe and Expeditions has, health, morale, and time. You have a pool that you're depleting from by the cost of every action is rolling these challenge dice. And if the dice show a heart, you're going to lose health unless you have an item or a skill that can mitigate that, or another player has a type that can mitigate it, and you place the dice on their card then. And once you get through the challenge pool of dice, if you ever need to make a check, say the cost is 4, you need to roll 4 dice, and there's only 2 challenge dice left, everything clears back into the challenge pool. So you're always kind of renewing this pool of dice, resetting your cards, and kind of building an engine as you explore it. And if your engine is you're very good at healing or fighting, every location has 6 different action types. And the thing is that makes it really interesting, and you want to play it again and again and again, you can only take one of those 6 actions at that location in that game. Even if you come back to that location, you can't try something else there. And if another player were to get to that location, they couldn't do something that was thematically opposed to what you did. So if you said, I'm going to destroy that bridge, they couldn't choose the movement action to go over the bridge. So it it kind of has this like one and done at a location, which when you think about 6 actions, 900 locations, the replayability is insane.
Does it have the tiny little hidden clues and whatever on the cards like Seventh Continent, or is this a little bit more straightforward?
A little bit more straightforward, but there are things that you see. There's a book of vantages where you might see a map, and that map is only visible for this turn, and then you have to close that book and put it away.
Got it. Okay.
So like, or on cards, you'll see context clues that will help you kind of identify like what the threat might be or what might be in that direction. So it is very like your location does tell a story and does kind of give you some idea of what could happen, but not to the level of like, at least not that I've seen, like hidden things, little numbers and whatnot, like Seventh Continent has, but similar in how you're moving from location card to location card, kind of charting your progress across this planet. So really good game. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Bryce and Josh were like, this is awesome. Bryce was like, this game is like my favorite game that I've played recently in the last couple years. And Josh is like, this is great. So it'll definitely get back to the table. It does have a solo. It's 1 to 6 players. And each player adds 2 extra challenge dice to that pool. So you end up with a larger pool of dice to be churning through and trying to find places to put them. But that's Vantage by Stonemaier Games. Definitely play it. Like it, without a doubt, goes to near the top of like my list of the last year or two. And then I started a new D&D campaign, guys. I think we talked about it briefly maybe last episode. But you know, if you're interested in how maps can affect the games we play, you should listen to the Campaign Trail episode 3, where Raf and I talk about map campaigns. But this D&D campaign, I intentionally made a map of this protected hidden vale surrounded by mountains and made it a very small space for the group, you know, like 20 miles by 20 miles. So it's not this like endless borders of a kingdom, but I did it so that, you know, players can come and go. Everything is very self-contained, but there's a lot of depth and mystery as to why this world is the way it is. And outside influences start to leak in, and you find out that, you know, things are happening. So I did it very intentionally, but I didn't want the map to be this huge, like, realm, world, whatever. I wanted to keep it very, very focused. And so far, I think it's working out pretty well to keep them moving around and not have these long weeks and weeks of travel. It's kind of like you want to go somewhere, it takes you a day to get there. So
don't go in the lake. That's all we learned so far. Yeah.
But yeah, having some fun with that, and good to be back to playing with mainly that same group as the last campaign, but we added Matt and hopefully Elena soon. So we've got full East Coast to West Coast representation. So scheduling continues to be fun with North Carolina and Seattle. Yeah, the metagame is scheduling. But we're sticking to every other like Tuesday night, and I said if I have three players, I'll run it. So give me half the group and I'm in. So that's gaming. That's a lot. We played a lot of games. That's good work.
And we haven't even talked about the Gen Con details.
No. So let's go to what might be a quicker discussion, and that's hobby.
Yeah.
My hobby table is my computer screen and the bases I'm building in Dune. But I'm making September goals. So for September, I plan on having painted the Og Sul models for Relic Blade. So like I'm going to focus on getting the enemy for the Catacombs of Kural campaign done, and then going from there. So
is it a charity goal like you guys used to do?
Oh,
throwback.
We should. I should put real money. Yeah, if I don't get that done, I donate to Raf's favorite charity. $50 to Raf's favorite charity.
Oh wow! All right.
If at September, end of September, I don't have the Og Sul painted.
There we go.
I have a Relic Blade rulebook now.
It's good. We're getting ready to
Yep.
launch the campaign.
Thanks to Herrick Games. I also, because I was like looking and like I'm like, wait, he has them on his store, and I
Oh, that's awesome. I
threw
didn't. There's
one in.
very, very few places that carry it
That's
outside
it. I
his web
threw
store.
it in my cart, and now I have it. And I was reading it the other day.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, Raf, what have you been hobbying?
Very little. I've almost done my Relic Blade warband. I was experimenting with some OSL and NMM techniques that came out okay, but mostly just getting through my little shrimp and fish squad for Relic Blade. The big development in my house is that we are churning out Gundams at a level not seen since the 1 Year War. A friend of ours gave the boys the easy build, so like I'm learning a lot about Gundam. Even that 1 Year War throwback is something I've learned in the last 2 weeks, because prior to a month ago I didn't know anything about Gundams. But they come in all these grades, and there's an easy grade, which is where you don't need snippers, you don't need glue, you don't need anything. You can just pop them out, and they're great for kids. So a friend of ours gave the boys one each. They both took to it like I haven't seen them take to something in a long time. They both immediately fell in love with it, wanted to build more, thought it was the coolest thing, and we started watching. One of the spin-off shows is a TV show about kids who build plastic Gundams and then battle with them in this arena that brings them to life, like a supercharged amiibo or something like that. And it is very clearly marketing. Like the final boss, like the better you build and the higher quality your build, the better it fights. And the final bad guy is an army of like knockoff bootleg Gundams. Like it's kind of blatant, but it's cute. And so I forget the exact order, but at some point my dad sends Rafi for his birthday a bunch of kits, and my dad just picked them at random on a website, happened to pick one of the most notoriously difficult kits you can buy. That's like not one level up from entry grade, but one more level up from entry grade. So now I have a Gundam kit to build, and we had to go to the store to replace Rafi's, and they saw the wall of Gundams, and like there's so many of them now that the grandparents are buying them for him, and they're just obsessed with building them. Not really necessarily obsessed with the TV shows, not super interested in the card game, but it's kind of like the joy of building a Lego, except at the end you have this like cool robot. So we've been all over it. And then again, via one of the various spinoffs, there is like a teddy bear looking Gundam that's really cute. And so same friend gave Charlotte that kit. So even now the 4-year-old is sitting helping me build a teddy bear Gundam with like little baby bear. But honestly, I knew it was a hobby, and I was like, so you build all these and then there's no rules. I don't really understand. Like, what's the point? Like, why am I going to spend all this time on hobby that doesn't like take me to a game, right? And honestly, I'm really super enjoying it. I found some STLs. I've been 3D printing the boys' stands so they can put their Gundams in better poses. And
cool.
Yeah, but it's taken over everything in this house. There's Gundam sprues and boxes in every flat surface of this house.
Excellent.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Troy, what about you? Any Gundams?
No Gundams yet. I have been. I mean, if you watch, I watched Louise and on Rogue Hobbies, and she has dipped her toe in the gun. Well, more than her toe, right?
Yeah,
she got one of those huge perfect grade ones.
Yeah, and I'm intrigued by watching her and the stuff she's done there. And yeah, she built that huge one, and you're like, those kits and how intricate and crazy they are. Yeah, and is pretty cool.
They really do kind of put GW to shame. Yeah. It's a different product, and the intent is different, but the way how well they push fit,
the technology, they're doing is
how
crazy.
well they articulate and then like hold the pose, and that you can have a single sprue with different colors on it, is kind of like dang. Yeah. And then a box, like less than $20.
Yeah. But I had a weekend of hobby. I had, well, more than that. I was doing a little bit. So leading up to Gen Con, I think we had talked about last time, Ben and I had a plan for playing a Legion Imperialis game there. So we need to have some armies. I worked on the infantry, I think talked about last time, which I did that first because that was kind of annoying to do little dudes. And then I lucked out. I think it was between rain and my family had other things to do. I literally got like a 2-day, 48-hour build weekend. And I built a Fire Raptor, 3 Kratos tanks, 3 Predators, 2 Sicarans, 1 Storm Eagle, 1 Thunderhawk, Xiphon Interceptor, 1 Baneblade, 4 Lehman Russes, and 2 Malkador tanks.
Wow.
And
A
got
partridge in a
some
pear
kind of
tree.
and got some. I mean, they're only all little, but yeah, I got all those built and got some amount of color. Got a couple colors on them to get them to the table. But it was really fun. I think I was telling Ty on the way, like building the little Thunderhawk, it is so satisfying. Like they're crazy intricate. I can't tell you, like there are always things that have these little tiny like at some point you're like, I'm gonna put a little tiny gun that I have huge, huge fingers and like I'm trying to get. That was always, but it would literally, I would pull out a sprue and I knew that, kind of within an hour I was going to go from 2 sprues to having a Fire Raptor. And it's like, wow, it's a complete detailed crazy Fire Raptor. And if so, it's really, really satisfying. I think that's why I was able to just like boom, 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 and run through it. So
they're Aeronautica Imperialis scale, right? It's the same.
Yeah. And
those
actually, because they're mixed. I think I bought a lot. Again, I went to my whatever cabinets of shame kind of thing and pulled off because I had bought a lot of the stuff. They were in the Aeronautica Imperialis boxes because that's what I bought them for. But now you can use them all. So and then as 3D printed bases because they have a little different base when you use them for Legion Imperialis. I'll do that. So, but
one of like the 13 people who actually played Aeronautica Imperialis. And it was really cool building those little planes. Yeah. Like I still have my little Grot bombers. No, like that big.
Yeah.
So Troy and Ben at Gen Con, Raf, I was like, hey, what are you guys up to? And they're like, oh, we're in our room or something. They didn't elaborate really. And I stopped by and there's Ben with his painting magnifying glass light headset. And there's Troy with the sprues. And they were doing Night Before Hobby for the Battle of the Weiss Brothers Imperialis game.
Oh, that's awesome.
The next day.
Yeah, we didn't have it. I missed that hobby. I did Gen Con hobby. We didn't have any terrain. So
Troy's
I brought the box terrain.
Yeah. And Ben is painting little tiny black dots on his weapons of his infantry. And then
he did the opposite of what I did. I think he built his vehicles and everything, and then he had his infantry left to do. He did, and
I was like, we're at Gen Con, and you guys are in your hotel room hobbying instead of out playing board games.
Oh, it was good.
All right, hobby. I need to do more. You guys are doing some. Everybody should be painting and doing more. We're getting into that time of year. Fall is great for hobby. Mm-hmm. So, hobby and football. Crowdfunding. I'm going to keep mine short. I'm starting to think I'm never going to see either of the open projects on my list. One is the Dead Keep. Simon, it hasn't entered their production queue. I don't think much is. I don't think I'm ever going to see it.
Yeah, Simon's not doing great.
Yeah.
And then Forsaken was a game that I saw a couple years ago. The Game Trays company, I think it's just Game Trays, did it, and it looked really cool. Then they hit a huge copyright snafu that delayed it. Supposedly reworked it. Supposedly they have production proofs of most of this stuff, but who knows? The updates continue to be, we're plugging along and we had this huge delay with legal issues and Simon's not doing great keeping their backers happy who are requesting refunds. People are reporting month-long wait times to hear back from customer service for claims. So we'll see what happens, but I think that's a death knell. And
they declared bankruptcy. They sold off a lot of their major games. Like there's something going on.
Yeah. So yeah, very, very happy with how my kickstarting and game founding is going. Troy, how about you?
That was good. Now I'm going to hold my tongue on my Simon comments because, yeah.
Well, and you recycle the same IP 37 times. It doesn't speak well for your ability to
I will
innovate.
just say I have no, right, all my disclaimers, no knowledge, whatever, but I feel like maybe the Ponzi scheme finally got called in because didn't it always feel like this Kickstarter was paying for the last, like,
Funding the
right?
next, yeah.
Like, right.
Absolutely.
And at
Yeah,
some point that
absolutely.
runs out, right? I don't know. Again,
Yep.
who knows, right? I have no knowledge, but that's what it felt like. Yeah.
There's something economically, like they had enough true Grand Slam hits
Mm-hmm.
that like they should have been able to, like Zombicide, like you guys have talked about Zombicide, how much you own and how popular that game is. Like you like enter some sort of evergreen mode with that and you can, yeah.
Yep. All right. Speaking, well, Awaken Realms, I have over here. I haven't even opened it. I'll send I on my,
Speaking of potential Ponzi schemes, is
yeah,
that what you're
right,
gonna say?
maybe. I don't know. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I'll let people interpret what they want. Yeah.
They sent you a dead body.
They did. I expected, this is not even, I think well, some of the, speaking of Simon, because I think like Massive Darkness came in like a fridge, like I literally like, oh, did I order a refrigerator? Right. No, it's Massive Darkness. That's, yeah, this Nemesis box is probably 16 inches by about 10 inches by somewhere between about 3.5 feet probably long. So yeah, all of a sudden I like see that sitting on my front step. I'm like, oh, I guess Nemesis Retaliation is here. So I haven't even opened it yet because it's going to be a whole production, because now I have to figure out where do I put all the stuff that, yeah. So right now it's just in a box. I can move it around. So but probably when I want to get it to the table one of these days. So now our Retaliation, if people don't like, so that's the third one in the Nemesis series. This is more of the you're gonna go call it the Aliens version, because this is like the Marines. This is you're able to fight back. You're not just running for your life, but you probably are still running for your life, but you have weapons, I guess, is the big difference. So
all right.
But otherwise I just been funding 3D print STLs, so that I'll never probably print, but you're like, oh, that looks really cool, and look, it's really cheap if I get it now, and all right, I'll get it and
one day
download it and put it on my drive, and it sits there. So
it sits there. I don't have anything new on Kickstarter. I'm still waiting for Speakeasy, which is the Vital Lacerda game from Eagle Griffin. It's been delayed a little bit, but it's still set to be this calendar year. And then the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tales to Amaze Unmatched thing is, I think, still on track, but I think they're absorbing the tariffs. Or Eagle Griffin is going to charge another like $15 or something like that because of tariffs. I don't remember exactly what happened, but for the most part, they're still on track to deliver this year, and I'm looking forward to getting them both. I did not go all in on the Ninja Turtles one, and I feel like that's when I should have probably just gone ahead, because I'm going to want it all in the end. But it's fine. Yeah, I don't have any Kickstarter horror stories. I don't think I kickstart so rarely that I typically don't run into like a horror story. So that's all I've got.
All right. Anything before we dive into the library, Raf, that you want to talk about? Side projects, new things, Goonhammer?
Yeah, I did record a podcast just recently with this guy, Ty, who really knows his stuff. Yeah, I know that, as Troy joked earlier, Ty and I recorded another episode of the Campaign Trail recently, our campaign game focused podcast for Goonhammer. It is Patreon exclusive, but there are other podcasts on the media network like this one, like Playin and Slayin. But if you are a patron, we are doing some monthly episodes on the Campaign Trail. It's been a lot of fun to talk about. It's helping me out with Relic Blade, forcing me to do research so that I don't, sound like an idiot when we talk into the mic.
I mean, it was pretty fun. I've notoriously been against what has happened to White Dwarf, but I did get a chance in our research for the last episode to go back to a back issue from 2009.
Yeah,
when the magazine was actually pretty good, and had some fun looking at some of that stuff. speaking of research. So, all right. In addition to reading back issues of White Dwarf, I have been doing a little bit of reading. So let's throw open the doors and go down the steps into the BOD library and talk about what we've been reading, listening to, watching. So I started book 9 of the Malazan series. Yes, book 9, I think, of 10. I'm getting very close.
Yep. But well, it's then there's a side series.
Yeah,
You're not done.
The first 10.
Yeah.
What I have learned is there is waiting too long to read the next book and not go back and refresh your memory, because this one has started and I am like, who are these people? Where am I? This feels like I'm back in book 1, not understanding
Gotta start over.
the world at all. I'm starting to get a little bit more together as the book gets further. I'm like, oh yeah, that was so and so. But it has been not an easy kind of restart of the series. But Steven Erikson continues to be one of the greatest world builders, and just the depth of the number of characters. So phenomenal series. If I had the stamina to do it all kind of in one shot, like I think like you did Jordan's Wheel of Time, Raf,
Yeah,
that's
straight
probably
through.
the way to do it, is just to
Took a
say,
year.
I'm not reading anything else this year. I'm going to get through it. But they've been very good. I'm almost done with Stephen Pressfield's Gates of Fire, the historical fiction kind of retelling of the Battle of the 300 at Thermopylae. So Spartans and the Persian Empire's expansion into Greece. That's been a really interesting book. It's not quite, I think everyone's view of Thermopylae and the 300 gets kind of Zack Snydered.
Yeah.
And this is more like, a historian did research and then wrote a fictional account told by someone else of that time and age. So it's more of like your classic history approach to it than Zack Snyder. I can't remember if I talked about Impact Winter last time, but I listened to the 3rd season of that. It's an audio drama on Audible Originals about comet hits the Earth and creates this forever winter and vampires are out. It was a lot of fun. And to circle back to Big Robots, Travis Beacham, who I think was the Pacific Rim screenwriter, there's some relation to Pacific Rim, and Beacham is the creator and writer of the Impact Winter Audible series. So
cool. See, now you got me.
No Big Robots in Impact Winter, but
okay. Back off.
Yet. It might
we need a vampire mech.
Maybe get
that's
vampire
how they get
mechs. And then I listened to a zombie book. Landon and I took a road trip to St. Louis, and I listened pretty much just the drive down. Rust-colored rain. A comet hits the Earth, but it brings with it an alien parasite with this red rain that makes people into zombies. And can't even think of the author. You can, he's nobody famous. I don't know why I even downloaded it, but I was like, I want to read this. I like cheap zombie books at some point, and it gave me what I needed, and it got a 3-star rating for giving me what I needed. And then I've been watching, because it kept showing in my You Should Watch This on Netflix. It's a show called Animal Kingdom. It was on FX. I think it ended back in 2022 after 6 seasons, about a family in Southern California they do heists. Like they'll create, a big job and then go do it. And there's all this infighting and crazy, horrific family dynamic between these uncles and then the one nephew, and the mother is kind of the kingpin of the family and ringleader, played by Ellen Barkin. I'm enjoying it. I'm in the end of season 2, but it's Netflix evidently understood me and queued up a show that I'll enjoy it. It has elements of like Sons of Anarchy meets like Point Break meets The Waterfront. Like it's just this weird kind of fun, kind of stupid show. But watching that, and then I watched Happy Gilmore 2, the cameo movie of the year. It actually was pretty fun. It was enjoyable. it was exactly what I thought I was going to get out of a sequel to a movie about a hockey player that becomes a golfer.
Yep.
So, all right, Troy, let's kick it over to you.
Sure, because we're going to overlap a little bit. Matt, I've talked about, I'm still doing Malazan, the book. What am I on? Five Midnight Tides. Just like you, I basically go back and find there are some pretty good like non-spoiler plot reviews of the previous books, because I think before I had to go back, and I think before I did 4, I went back and refreshed myself on the plots of 1, 2, and 3, and the same thing, like, yeah, because I take a lot of time between them, and then when you dive in, he doesn't like there's no handrails. He just throws you in the middle, and you're like, who all these people are. Yeah, I haven't talked about them for 2,000 pages and 3 books ago, but yeah,
Right.
So go with that. But again, I'm running to the end because I'm within 7 or 8 hours of the end. So stuff's ratcheting up, and we'll go through that. So it's good. I work through there and to kind of, while I'm going through this huge 40-hour book, I always kind of weave other stuff in between. Amazon has, I think it's called the Forward, set of short stories from some pretty well-known authors that are just looking at, I think they're all kind of post-apocalyptic kind of things on that. Veronica Roth, who was what's the D? It's the
Divergence.
Yeah, I think she's the one. Again, I don't know the whole story. I think she's like, Hunger Games, I can do this, and she'd like, I'll write my own series in like 3 weeks and made $1 million or whatever she did. But so I give her
basically
like
launched a new genre.
Right. Yeah. So she's like, I can do that. Like, hold my beer. And but it was pretty good. So Arc, again, short story, talks about again, the Earth is aft, and they're about to get out. No, it's not. Well, space.
Nobody got a boat ready. Space Arc.
They are. Yes, it's literally people. The story is literally about the people getting the boat ready, or the Ark. It's the last people on Earth. They're cataloging the flora so that they can put it on the genetics onto the Ark ship, because it's basically into that. But it's more about the people and what do you do when it's basically leaving the the Earth is effed, and these are the last people off. And then Summer Frost, which was, I was looking at it, actually written about 5 years ago. It feels really fresh because it's about an AI in a game, and how it kind of gets some sentience to it, and just the travel there. And and you're like, wow, this feels really like for now. And I looked back, I'm like, I felt like, oh, he wrote this now. And like, no, it was written like in 2019 or something like that. So again, short story in there. And then again, non-sci-fi, maybe not non-sci-fi, it's not fiction, is The Order of Time, Carlo Rovelli. He's a pretty physicist, quantum physicist, pretty famous, has a couple books about all the craziness in there. This book was recommended to kind of he examines time, like what is time, what is, trying to wrap your head around that, relativity, a little bit of some of that, but more of like, what do you think of time? And it is just, for me, it was, he tries to make it so that the common person can at least get their head wrapped around it a little bit, around some of that. But he also goes into some really, like, he goes really deep, but he tries to like explain it. Like, he's like, I'm not gonna, but really interesting, and really kind of with relativity kind of. And what's interesting is there is this overlap with sci-fi in that, there are so many things where, as people are traveling across stars and things like that, how you can, basically relativity, and you don't really, you're kind of, I don't know if, one of the Ender's Games books, right, where at some point they leave to go to a different planet. At that point, like, they're going to be so disassociated in time, they're basically never going to be able to kind of, is never going to see his sister again, really, in the right thing. But he looks at that, and then even, so I'll do this, you guys can tell me if I'm crazy or not. So what he talks about is that, time is like really is relation to your distance. Like your bubble of time of now is really only around you. So even as we are right now, kind of and because we have I'll call it the lag, you can think of it as maybe more distance and relativity. Like there is no, for the three of us right now, there is no now, because even though I'm talking right now, Raf, you're hearing me a couple milliseconds or a second after. Same with Ty.
Yeah.
And same thing when I hear you back, I think that's my now, but that's not your now. And it's, again, you can say, well, you're syncing, you could sync your Y, but you think about it, we're kind of in our own pocket of now. Like we don't actually, even for us right now, don't have the same now. And he just really, you're like, wow, that's, and then as you go further apart, you really, and he talks about, now for somebody on, Alpha Centauri, there is no now between somebody here and somebody there, because you can never kind of like interact in some of that. And so he really kind of talks about how time is kind of this bubble, and it it goes out for around you and things like that. And then he weaves a whole bunch of stuff around black holes and all and things like that in there too.
And the science comes.
And the science come in there too. So really interesting. And it was kind of, and then it gets interesting because then you kind of see how, sci-fi also plays with some of these things unintentionally, maybe some ways, and some of that. So if you really want to blow your mind and kind of go down, it's not a super long book either. Order of Time, Carlo Rovelli, around some of that. So I'll leave you with that. And then I also say I did watch Happy Gilmore 2. Ben and I watched it at Gen Con, and it was actually better than like you said, Ty, I wasn't expecting a lot, and it was better than I thought it was going to be. Like some really cool, he did great homage to the original, and a lot of the people that were in the original, I thought he did a really nice job of doing that. So it is what it is, but it's pretty, if you want to kill whatever it is, hour and a half, it's worth it.
All right, Raf. I was gonna say, what have you been reading now? But now not being now, what have you been reading?
Still on He Who Fights with Monsters. I mentioned it the last episode. Getting a little bit better. I still really like the story and the narrative a little bit more than I like the prose and some of the character development. But it's good. It's I said before, it's the perfect thing to listen to on my long commute. I'm engaged enough to keep throwing Audible credits at it to kind of see where it goes. I like the story. That's like the reading.
How far are you?
I'm on book 4. I feel like I'm getting towards the end of it.
I think
there's like 8 or 9
of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Yeah. So we'll see if it keeps going, but for now it's been fine. I don't want to think too hard. I did watch Sinners, which I thought was pretty amazing. Got on a little bit of a horror kick. Watched Sinners and a movie called X, which is part of like not a trilogy per se, but it's like 3 movies. I guess it's a trilogy, but it's not like sequential. So a little bit of horror kick. Sinners was awesome.
Sinners
love
really
the twist on the vampire story. Love some of the symbolism that's seen with music in the middle without getting into too many spoilers. Is just awesome.
Did you watch the end credits?
I did. Yeah.
Good.
It took place, in my backyard in Chicago, which was cool. And then Gundam. We've been watching a little bit of Gundam with the kids. We watched the one about the marketing one about building Gundams, but we've also started watching one of the series. I don't know where it fits in the thing. And I watched Neon Genesis Evangelion on my own, which was actually really good. Some deep themes.
Not for kids though.
No, I started watching it with Rafi, not really knowing anything, and he lost interest a few episodes in. And I'm glad because
it starts to go.
I avoided a lot of questions that I didn't need to have.
Robotech.
Right,
you can just show them old Robotech videos.
Yeah. And finally, I've been watching this really fascinating documentary about the sailing industry. It's called Below Deck Sailing. No, it's a trashy Bravo reality TV show about the crew of multi-$100,000 excursion super yachts and their trials and tribulations of insane ultra rich guests and all trying to sleep with each other on this 120-foot boat. It's honestly where a lot of my hobby time has gone to. Katie got really into it, and I started watching it with her, and the way Peacock you finish one show and we finished Top Chef and it just started the next one and we kind of got hooked. Did you
start with the first seasons, or are you
watching
current season?
It fed us the most recent season of the sailing yacht, which is season 5, which features, it sort of highlights the culmination of a relationship that's like a very messy relationship that's like 3-4 years in the making. So we watched that whole season, and we decided we're going to watch it backwards in time and see how this relationship between Daisy and Gary develops. And so now that we're like back into seasons 2 or 3 or whatever, it's really funny to have them like be like, I would never sleep with so and so. I would never whatever, and knowing like where it ends up by the end of season 5. Yeah, absolute garbage television, but we've watched a lot of it.
Well, and I'll make the same reference. I think a Goonhammer cruise is next up.
Yeah.
So let's, who needs an open tournament? Who needs whatever meetup? Let's go right to
we don't need to do
yachts.
BodCon in Colorado or wherever that was. Again, let's do it on
On
the
a
open
boat.
seas.
Yep.
In the Greek Isles.
Yeah, on a 150-foot catamaran or sailing yacht.
Yeah, charter boat. All right. Excellent. Well, that was fun, and now I'm still thinking about how it's not really now, and when you're listening, it's not now. And when you're listening in the moment, you're not going to be at the same moment as we were when we weren't even at the same moment together. And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about Gen Con.
When we come back, if we who knows?
We're back. No. But yeah, a quick break, and we'll be back at it with some Gen Con as Raf interviews Troy and I on our experiences. And we are back. We're back from Gen Con, and here we are back at the microphones with Raf. Raf, are you ready to kick off the Gen Con 2025 recap interview of the Bodfather and myself?
I am. I'm really excited to hear about it. Hanging out in the Discord's one thing, but now I get to hear it all. So let's just start real simple, kind of set the stage. How overall, how did Gen Con 2025 go for you guys? How is it continuing to change or maybe recover from the COVID? I don't think I don't know. Maybe it's back to normal, but I know it's been a little bit of change. So what was it like? Kind of general vibes. Why don't you go first, Ty?
It's back, and it's huge, and wow, the crowd size. I was just not being there for even a year. I was shocked and awed by the masses of people, like everywhere around the convention hall. The will call line felt like a joke this year, how long it was. Indy feels like it is bursting at the seams during Gen Con. And I know they're trying rapidly to build new buildings and add space and do stuff, but it almost feels like it has outgrown that space. And I don't know what they do with it next. But that was like the crowds this year. And I don't know if it's a combination of construction around the convention center, other stuff going on, but it felt like everywhere you looked, there were lines of people.
Yeah.
And crowds. And Troy made a comment earlier about, you schedule a game for Thursday morning because you don't want to do the vendor hall. I skipped my Thursday morning game because I was going to be about 10 minutes late and went right to the vendor hall. And I went in like after the first doors opened, about 10 minutes in, and was like I was in a zombie movie, like one of the wandering hordes just being pushed up against walls and knocked in the doorway. Like it was insane. And that was Thursday. So
yeah,
general vibe was it's bigger than ever. Crowd size is huge. But it was good to be back. Like Indy is a really fun convention town. Gen Con is a great show. So it was fun to be back. Troy, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree the same thing. It felt like it's back, kind of the bigger and better than pre-COVID, right? And I think even probably was a little bit even that last year, but yeah, and then just back to our, I kind of said back to our routines in a good way. Like Wednesday, we kind of all got in there. We go and we grab our coupon book and say, look, here's our coupon book. There's nothing in it. And we get our program, and then we go wander off to go do something. Actually, this year, Ben and I actually went to watch the Indiana Fever play basketball. which was a blast. That was a lot of fun. And we had, way back in the day, we actually had done a Colts game, like,
Oh, cool.
it's like probably almost 15 years ago. More than that, probably 20 years ago, back when because the RCA Dome was there. So we've done that in the past where we've mixed some stuff in there. So that was a good Wednesday on that. But yeah, a lot of the things the same. But I think it felt too like, even for a while, again, like most places down, like I think there was struggle with service and things like that. I don't know. I know, Ty, we found some, we'll talk about maybe some, we found a little different places because of things, but we went to like the Yard House one night or whatever, and it felt like, unlike some of the previous years, they were fully staffed. They were, I mean, they're busy, but they felt like, I mean, the places that were there actually felt like they could handle a little bit more of the crowds that were there. And I think that's just more of the, people recovering and actually knowing what's there. But again, and some of that. So it was fun. Yeah, it was kind of a lot of our normal routine of Gen Con that I still, I like to hit the auction once, and it's kind of, we kind of have our things we like to hit over things around that, but things have changed too, and grown, just grown and grown and grown. So
yeah, I think we saw that at Adepticon, with it being the first year at the Barrett Center, that some of those local restaurants were not prepared for like the crush of Adepticon, and it sounds like Gen Con kind of went through remembering what that was like for a couple of years.
Yep.
Yeah. So one of the things I loved hearing in last episode was like how Gen Con was different over the years from you guys, because you all have been attending over a broader time frame than I have. So what was there something about 2025 that was different, or really like a big surprise that's going to, like, 5 years from now you're gonna be like, oh yeah, that was 2025's thing?
Yeah. One thing for us is we stayed in a completely different side of the convention. So we stayed at hotels kind of on the, and I won't get it right. And what was it? Southwest side?
South. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of off of of the stadium. So Lucas Oil Field, rather than being closer to city center around the, people know, kind of the center with the podium and the canal and whatever, the circle. So we're away from that. We're on the opposite side. That said, literally we'd walk across the street and then you can get into Lucas Oil and then you're at the convention, right? But it's a little different. But it is interesting how where you are, like, you then interact a little differently. Like right there now is where all the food trucks are and the Sun King Brewery and things like that. So that tended to be like, an easy place to go check out there, and the stadium. Like, we can grab something to eat, go into the stadium and do that. So like you'd interact with that side of the convention center much more than the other side on some of that. Like there was only one night when Ben and I, Saturday night, when we actually went into, we'll call it downtown proper on the other side, kind of by the circle, and went to dinner or whatever. And then it was funny when we were walking back, you don't realize it, but all of a sudden my watch is like, you just walked 1.1 miles just from the restaurant to your hotel. And you're like, didn't feel like that's that far, but because we're opposite of where we were. So that, again, nothing, it was good. And one of the things, again, Ben and I are also getting lazy, is I've had the last 2 years too, I've had a suite room. And so we had, room to play games, just kind of relax and chill in our room and play and that. So, we would interact with the con and do that, but then we could kind of come back to our room in the evening and just kind of do our own thing, escape, and hang out and escape, and which was nice too. Yeah, around some of that rather than doing that all the time. So yeah, I think that was it. Ty, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if there's any Gen Con things. That was more about my experience with it. But
yeah, I think this year, and I didn't know how much was going on Georgia Street and construction wise. So Georgia Street used to always be where the food trucks and the block party and everything was, and I was anticipating that. And there used to be that huge open plaza off of Georgia Street. Well, that is now a massive construction site. It's this huge skyscraper, office, retail, whatever, hotel, I don't know what it is being built. So the whole convention kind of shifted, like Troy said, to that street between the back of the convention center and the loading docks and like Lucas Oil. So all the food trucks, all the block party stuff, the beer garden, and that construction also really with the exception of a few things at like that Grand Central, Union Station, whatever, was like kind of pushed to the other side, whereas Georgia Street restaurants used to be much more involved, and
Yeah.
you'd see foot traffic, and so it kind of shaped the flow of the convention. And I think that was interesting to see how, you know, what Indy had going on really impacted the restaurants too. Like Troy talked about the Yard House or whatever being ready. There were restaurants down Georgia Street, like a few blocks, that years past would have been lines, massive crowds, and like peak lunchtime, Tom and I walked in and sat down 3 blocks from the convention center just because of that construction and having
nice.
to walk around it. And the waitress was like, "Yeah, we were thinking we'd be slammed, but we're not getting the crowds. Like, we're overstaffed. We're, you know, like." And that was kind of what stood out about Indy and Gen Con this year, is how the city truly like was a couple blocks taken up by this construction that changed the whole layout and the way that traffic flowed downtown. And then I'm also calling Gen Con VIP Con, because the more people you get to know and the more people you play with and game with, you start to kind of curate your experience. And like, you know, I had this private room dinner at St. Elmo's with Dr. Gabe and his friends, one of which was the GM of the restaurant. We sat down at a table. Granted, anyone could buy the play with the designer, but Matt Forbeck game. There was an actor from like Five Nights at Freddy's who played a bit character at the table, hanging out with Elena at night, and her friend Olivia, who her and her partner Brian do like a huge Twitch stream that I didn't know, where they have people play Magic at their living room, and Tyler Jacobson in the hotel lobby, just, you know, hanging out. And I think her name's Evan Fong, she was one of the primary like Wizards artists at the Lucas Oil, her and Tyler, and just hanging out, like getting to know these different people. And versus, you know, going into a I don't know anyone, just like you start to have your own kind of micro communities at these conventions.
Nice. It's fun. Gen Con really brings everyone from the industry. So you keep going, and you guys are in the industry as part of the podcast, stuff like that, and eventually connect to people, and it makes it fun. All right, so let's get real quick before we go into like specifics, were there any major surprises that you didn't see coming? Like what kind of shocked you this year? Are the no crowds at a restaurant's actually a big one, but from a game perspective,
yeah,
what jumped out?
Yeah, I'll dive in. So I think I wasn't aware of how much tariffs were going to impact board games, and it felt like by and large the amount of retail presence at Gen Con was greatly reduced. Like inventory at various booths, some of the like the sellers that used to be there, like Cool Stuff, like Inc. used to have tons of board games. I found out Cool Stuff has actually gotten rid of that whole aspect of their business model, like selling the board games. Like now they focus on cards and other stuff because of the industry change. So like that I wasn't anticipating from a board game industry, was how much that environment has impacted the ability for product to be on shelves and for a huge retail. Like I wonder if the dollars spent in the vendor hall changed at all, or if they just went elsewhere.
Shifted,
and then I saw 2 games that I had heard about and was like, wow, these actually look really good. One was Battle Monsters, Restoration Games, taking the Battle Masters game, making it kaiju. Like it looked awesome. 3x3 board instead of the 4x4 mat, but like the monster, I was like, this looks really cool. I didn't go and like order it or get on it because I'm debating if I will, but it did look really cool to see in person. And then also Matt Leacock continues to take Pandemic in all new directions. And there's this Lord of the Rings. It's like, I forget what the exact name is, but it's basically Pandemic in Middle Earth as you're trying to stem the shadow, right, from spreading and taking over. as you see like the Nazgul moving around the board and other things as you're the heroes trying to combat the shadow using the pandemic rules to spread darkness across Middle Earth. And Asmodee had demos going. I didn't get a chance to sit in on one, but I was like, this looks really, really fun.
We're almost to the point where Pandemic is a mechanic, like deck building.
Yeah.
Like there's so many Pandemic games now that are all different enough that it's almost its own mechanism, like worker placement.
He has taken that and made it a system of play. Yeah. So those were kind of the surprises for me, where I was like, oh, this is really cool. And seeing it in person, I think sometimes has an effect that, even the most well done crowdfunding page doesn't show like the size and scale of these things in person and the board present on the table. So it's pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna second everything Ty just said, because I remember seeing especially the battle monsters on the table was pretty cool in that. And then mine aren't going to be as exciting, but they were just kind of funny. Was Cookie Run Kingdom. If everybody knows the game, there's a collectible card game out for that. Not that I'm interested, but I know my daughter is super like. I knew the only reason I knew about that this thing even existed was because of her. And then so when I saw Cookie Run Kingdom, we might have signed up for a whole, because they had about here, sign up on all these things, and they gave you all this free promo stuff. They definitely knew how to market around some of that. So so she got a lot of Cookie Run Kingdom stuff there. And then, not that I'm ever going to play it, but the League of Legends collectible card game, I had no idea this was a thing. But Riot, again, talking about people who can market, right, and don't have, right, if Riot Games, I think they had, I don't know what, they had carpeted one of the walkthroughs, or not we like covered it. Like, so there was huge signage around that. But yeah, just walking in, like, oh, I didn't even know there was a League of Legends card game, but now I do, because there's that. So, and I don't know if I ever play it, but I always find the art and the characters really cool. I'm not a big of the gameplay, but I like the world and the characters that they do. But
we're in a little bit of a TCG I don't want to call it a renaissance yet, but like they're back, right? They had kind of faded down to the big three, and now there's quite a few kind of finding their foothold.
Yep.
I was a little surprised there wasn't more response. Like, that booth didn't feel crowded and busy.
Nope.
At all for like a big launch and a lot of dollars. So we'll see. Maybe the game's going to be really good. Maybe that's the wrong IP for a card game. I don't know. But it was not like the Gundam booth.
The Gundam. Yeah. And I don't know. I think the League of Legends, I don't think they were selling anything yet. So I don't know if that even, Gundam, they were at least selling some stuff. I don't know if anything was really available for the League of Legends. I may be wrong with that, because I didn't really engage with it a whole lot, but around some of that. So yeah, we didn't. Maybe that's it though. I mean, we're not surprised, because I think you had given us the heads up on the Gundam collectible card game, but maybe that just like you couldn't. They were in Hall B or C, was like there where they were doing the play, and I don't know. My understanding is like you would go there at like 8 a.m. and they would basically hand out tickets to like play in a demo, and then only if you played in a demo could you then go to their booth
to buy,
and then turn that in to buy for stuff. So it was, and by the time we would get into the hall at 9ish, everything like there was gone. Like if you weren't there at going in there, and I don't know how long people were standing in line, but that was a little crazy.
It's been a big launch, and they printed a decent amount, but it was like, I don't know, it's like the hype chose Gundams, right? So now booster boxes are $200 something and way over, and I think it's going to be like Lorcana. It'll eventually settle down. And they've already announced that they will eventually reprint this first wave, so prices are settling a little bit. But whereas like the Star Wars game kind of launched, found a foothold, never really crazy lines, never really, and now it's just going steady. I think Gundam is doing the kind of Lorcana thing. All right, so let's go into some specific moments, like what really stood out from you for this one, but like specific game or specific moment versus sort of general vibe.
Cool. I'll jump in, and again, Ty talked a little bit of it, and I'll let Ty talk about it more because I'd done this last year too. But we did get into you could buy your way into a Marvel RPG game with Matt Forback, and I kind of was telling these guys like don't really expect to play. It's really going to be Matt talking for a couple hours and sharing stories and teaching you the game for a while, and it's so I call it story time, and it was a blast. Like I enjoyed that. Like that was fun. It was exactly what it was going to be, and like Ty said, there was a good group at the table. It was me, Ben, and Ty taking up more than half the table, so it's always good when you can kind of do that. So that was fun. Had some again, all my events were really like I enjoyed every game that I played. Around that, I kind of talked about some of the other stuff, Interceptor and then just even Thunder Road earlier. It was just fun. The events that were really highlights is I played Rangers of Shadow Deep. That was a game I'd wanted to play for a long time. So that's kind of the Frostgrave, similar rules if you've ever played Frostgrave. But the guys that did it, they were kind of we had three different boards, and I think there were 6. There were like 12 of us. So you had 2 groups of 6, and we're each fighting monsters to get some things. And then at the end, we had a third. So I think we did 2 scenarios separate, and then we did a third scenario that was kind of the climax. We're all 12 of us, and we had to basically get our artifact that we had found through the clues and whatever off the board. So just a lot of fun miniature combat. It's always good when you have a group like that, right? You create some cool moments with the dice and things, especially if you've played Frostgrave or Rangers. It's D20 based, so very swingy around with the combat around that, and so you can one-shot things and things like that. So, but a lot of fun. And the guys did a nice job of the train was good, and they even gave us a little prize. They gave us a little mini.
Nice.
At the end, so it was kind of good. And then Ben is a big Snapships player, and thank you, Raf. I think we've taken that off your hands, but
yep.
So there was a guy, a really good presence at Gen Con for really he's not from the company, but I think he was associated, works with them, whatever, but just doing a lot. He ran a number of different scenarios that were a lot of fun. One was, I think Ben played in one on one night, was you basically had I'll call it a train, even though it was a spaceship. You basically had to kind of, one group was trying to defend the train, the other group was trying to get the train off the board around that. And then we played another scenario where it was there were these drones you basically had to discover, and there were enemy again fighting against them, and they were either your drones or they're your enemy's drones. And the goal was to kind of get all your drones off the thing. And there was some really cool AI. There were AI driven drones, and then you were fighting and it was Ben and I against another guy, and then the guy who was actually running it around that. So, and it was really cool. Again, I think I was vibing because he's basically like, even though when we were doing, he had developed that scenario, but he hadn't played tested a lot. So we were actually kind of doing a half play test and a half play with it. I mean, it was really playing, but as we were doing it, we were talking about, was there anything we could do to make this better? We can do it. And, we were trying to win, but it was everybody having fun and what's a cool moment and what's kind of both those games, right? It was kind of like, you're kind of looking for the cool moment and things like that. And so, and again, like even the Snapships, which if you haven't played Snap, right, it's Lego ship kind of thing.
Giant Legos
things.
Build your own ship.
The combat has enough meat to it, and the movement, and it's kind of like giant X-wing, because you have these movement things, so you can do some of that. And I thought, again, the AI for the drones was really smart on how it did. So again, just really had fun. Like it was good people at the table and some of that. So that's and again, and getting a little story time with Matt mixed in there too was good. So
nice. What about you, Ty?
I won't rehash kind of the things that Troy already talked about. So Marvel was, an entertaining couple hours, but not much playing of the game, but enough to understand the system. I talked about playing games with my brother, which is always a highlight because he hadn't been at a Gen Con since 2015, 2016.
Oh, wow.
So it had been a long time since I got to experience it with him, which was kind of the overall highlight. But I think the kids say something slaps if it's good. Morkborg slaps. Like I had an amazing convention game experience where my character was ridiculous. The table was having some fun. The GM was like not even GMing. It was like we were kind of, playing against the monsters he threw at us, and horrible stuff was happening. But that table was just a lot of fun. There was Dr. Gabe delivered a couple of airplane bottles of booze and beer. We're in the back corner of the bottom level of the JW, where you go down and down and down and then
Yeah.
way back in. And it just felt like this is a convention game. So that was probably the gaming highlight, was that Morkborg table and game. Random character gen. We just literally went to an app on the phone and clicked generate, and it gave us our character.
Oh, that's
and we
awesome.
wrote down what it was, and I was a wretched noble, like a scion of a fallen house, and my abilities were a court jester that distracted enemies, and the first 2 rounds of combat gave a bonus to attack and defend for the whole party, and a horse that was smarter than me. And after the first encounter, we had to climb a cliff, and I sent the jester and the horse to find a different path. So I was left without my
Intelligence,
my court jester and my intelligent horse for the rest of the scene, because the GM rolled a check for them, and they were found frozen weeks later, off in the tundra because they took a wrong turn. But it was so entertaining. That rule set, I think, is really fun. Hopefully you get a chance to talk about that in some more depth in an RPG focused arena someday. But
Nice.
that was Morkborg was probably like the most fun I had. We're not talking about lowlights, but I had a Pendragon game that was the worst of convention game experience. And I knew we were in trouble when the GM said, "I'm not really a Pendragon guy, I'm more of a RuneQuest guy." And then brought out
Why are you
a
running
grid
it?
map for combat with minis, and I was like, "Oh no."
I love that Gen Con fills its event roster with people who come with passion to GM games for the community. But by and large, it's a great experience. But yeah, every now and then you're like, you scratch your head a little bit.
You get to the keep and there's one door. All right, we try to sneak in. You can't. Okay, we knock the door down as we get shot at, and then go in one at a time to fight the bad guy with a magic sword that we can't stand up against. This is really fun.
Yeah.
TPK at a con game.
Well, I bet the DM had fun.
I'm sure he had a great time rolling 27 dice.
All right, so pick one game that stood out, like one game, one event, one thing you did highlight.
I talked about it a little bit already. I will say that Ben and I, the fact that we actually got to play our Legions Imperialis game on Friday night, and we went till 2 a.m. once we got everything going. But it was fun. Again, getting to play with my brother, getting there. Give him a lot of credit. Again, he had been super busy to get things there, so he made sure that he could have just as easily said, "Oh, I don't think I'm going to have it done" or whatever. But we both committed to do it, and that's good because we don't get a chance to play that much anymore because we're distant and whatever. So the fact that we were able to do it and roll some dice and shoot each other up, and with a game that we were both kind of learning it, but again, it's mini 40K, and it goes way back because Ben. It's scary that I'm talking like almost 30 years ago. He was a big epic 40K player, and he actually ran games at Gen Con here in Milwaukee, where he would bring his epic stuff and run scenarios for people around that. So it's kind of like this coming full circle to kind of play that. So that was really that was kind of my highlight. I mean, I had lots of really good events and things like that, but that one's probably my highlight. And it wasn't even a Gen Con game. I guess it was my home curated game, but
still, it's part of the event.
So it was not a Gen Con ticketed event, but it was a Gen Con game. There's a game called Chinatown by Z-Man. It's probably about 10 years old or so.
No, more than that.
Maybe older than, yeah.
I think I
but
reprinted 10 years ago.
reprinted 10
Yeah,
years. Yep,
yeah.
yep.
It's been around for a long time. It's a
2014
fantastic
reprint, I think.
negotiation trading game.
Yes, it is. Maybe a little unfortunately skinned in today's modern era, but if you get a chance to play that game with Matt Danner, you should, and you are in for negotiating ruthlessly every single action scrutinized, cost analysis provided to you, talking about how much that property will generate if you do this or don't do this, trying to get other people to chip in to a deal because he feels that they will benefit in some way. It's a lesson and it's an adventure, but I will never turn down, even though I at times hate Chinatown because of there being no way to win the game unless you participate in negotiation and trade.
Yep.
Very, very exciting experience. And you almost want to have a lawyer at the table in case a divorce unfolds or,
the end of a friendship.
Yeah. But just I think most Gen Cons it gets played and it's always a riveting experience. But if you get a chance to play with Matt, you must take that opportunity.
Nice. Last question about games is what was like a hidden gem situation that you, I mean, maybe it can be one you've already talked about, but like which one of those, again, like pick one.
I'll go first. Have you heard about Morkborg? I know it's been fairly big as far as recent RPG releases within the last few years, but I think it's really fun the way they handle it. And I did get a chance to talk to the guys that do Pirate Borg. So Free League licenses the rules set kind of like a OGL, and then publishes it for them. And they added kind of a fifth stat, and they added naval combat, and they've really done a lot. So like I think it's Morkborg but with pirates, and Pirate Borg. Didn't get a chance to play it, but bought the books, got a few adventures. I was really pleased to dig it, and it's been a table I've walked by at Gamehole, and I've never really I've been like, I don't know.
Yeah, I have the rule set, but I've never played it. Like,
looks super fun. A good group of guys, and the design feels really tight for the mechanics. But and I can't think. We'll put it in the show notes. But Morkborg is Free League Publishing. I can't think of Pirate Borg, the guys that do it, their company. But yeah, that would be it for me.
Okay, what about you, Troy?
It's off screen. Oh, sorry, I gotta not talk out of the mic. Wait, so, and this isn't really so axolotl with a gun, but really what it is I spent a lot of time on kind of, actually they were right down from like Elena's booth was like the Indy RPG. Was a couple booths. I think this is Roll One or whatever. So I love to just kind of browse through the crazy indie RPG stuff, and I ended up picking up again Axolotl with a gun, just because how can you not? I have no idea if this
10-year-old would love that.
Oh well, you know what she was selling it, saying basically they had an 8-year-old run it like the Thursday or Friday of Gen Con, and that was the like rave reviews of that, because you basically you're an axolotl trying to keep the environment safe from the evil corporations, and you have a gun. You have lots of guns. You can I think I might get my daughter to play. We'll figure that out around some of that stuff. But again, I bought one about some solo ones about how to be being a crow. And I can't even remember that. So so some of that, again, I don't know if they're hidden gems, but if you do, like, I love to just kind of go through that, and you find all kinds of crazy stuff. And I love to support people that just have the passion. And so, yeah, just found stuff that I thought was kind of interesting, and I bought probably more than I needed to, and I made some that probably never will come off my shelf, but
Also part of Gen Con.
right. But it was fun to go through some of that, and so so I'm going with Axolotl with a gun as the hidden gem that people weren't didn't know was going to break out. So
Nice. Okay, so let's shift away from gaming. We've heard a little bit, so there might be some overlap with some of the stuff you already talked about, but we've talked about it before. This hobby is so much more than the game, and it's about the people. So like, let's get into some memorable interactions you've had. We've heard about family and friends. So what about new friends you made there, maybe, or like industry people you were hoping to meet, or something like that?
cool. I'll run through because Ty ran into more industry people than I did around some of that. But we had so we'll talk. Our friend Terrace from Geek Nation Tours. He's the last couple of years has kind of come back and runs a tour at Gen Con. But basically they have an Airbnb, kind of I don't know what it is, not even a mile or so, a couple miles. It's kind of by Sun King Brewery, is where and some of that. He was nice enough he's like, oh, Troy, you guys be down coming over one of the nights and whatever. So we ended up going over there. I think Friday night, Ty and Ben and I, and even then ran into, again, some of that crew from Geek Nation Tour. Some of the people that are on his tour come to Adepticon. And so we've gotten to know some people over the years there and run through that. So I guess it was Thursday night if I look at my real notes. So Thursday night we were there, but it was just really nice to kind of, again, get away from the hall there, and Terrace fed us amazing. That he's like the Gen Con mom. There is what he does. He goes and he doesn't really. He's like, I don't think I'll go to I think he maybe went to the convention once or twice, but he just spends his time kind of preparing meals back at the house and gaming there with people and whatever. So again, Terrace has now been a friend for years and years and years, and thanked him for the invite. It was great to kind of go over there and just spend a couple hours and drink some beers and eat some food and hang out with him and Volker, and I can't remember who was Volker's friend from Germany, and they brought again. It was fun to meet some new people too, and always good to get. I don't know if Ty, if you think it's always fun to get perspectives from non-US people on anything.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of keeps so again, that was fun. That was probably the big one. And then Sunday, I know Ty will tell the story too, but we were kind of in the typical Sunday vendor hall last thing before we head out. We ran into Meth or Andrew, if people know him from the Madison area around here. Just again, thousands of people, and all of a sudden John and I are at a booth, or Ben and I, and Ben's like, wait, isn't that? I'm like, yeah, and so we ended up talking to him, and I stalled long enough because Ty was meeting us. I'm like, Ty will be here if we stall for another 3 minutes. So, and some of that. So that was, again, there was some of the fun again, and all the other Dr. Gabe, and it was great to have, like you said, to have Tom there, and to Matt and Elena, it's, and Barry, and like we have kind of always have kind of a core crew of people that you see and hang out with, but always
it's family.
More, so
So two kind of one group of strangers that became friends, and one old friend that kind of was good to see again. So Troy mentioned bumping into Andrew, Mr. Mephisto from Twitch, and Rantcast, and my vampire storyteller when I did the actual play.
He's been on this show too.
Years ago, right? Yep, we brought him on for our longest episode to date.
I think he has the record, I believe.
It's probably been a year or two since I was on the vampire show, and when I got rid of Twitter and Facebook and some other social media, that was kind of how I engaged with some of the Warhammer friends that I made over time. If I'm not on a Discord with them, or if I leave a Discord. So seeing Andrew again, kind of chatting, we've been messaging on Discord, plotting a special appearance by my character from the Milwaukee Vampire show that we did on his Chicago one.
Oh, cool.
So lining up some dates to maybe do a guest spot on his actual play, and just kind of rekindling the friendship, like talking about how life is going, catching up, was really great. So Troy, thank you for stalling and making sure that that random
One
encounter
of the
could
crazy,
take place. And then Wednesday night, so I may have said St. Elmo's dinner with Dr. Gabe. Dr. Gabe and his St. Louis kind of gaming group every year do a Wednesday night meal at St. Elmo's steakhouse, and then a role-playing game. Sometimes it's GM'd by a guy they met who GM'd Pathfinder, who's now a part of their group and friends. This year, Gabe wrote a special one-shot scenario that was bachelor party meets cabin in the woods. And it went exactly as you think it would when you hear that mix up. But it was the folks that he plays RPGs and games with in St. Louis, and one of their friends from college days is Rich, the general manager at St. Elmo's. So like the food and wine and everything was just, we had a private room, a private waitress, and staff just constantly coming in. Really cool experience, really great group of people. And it was 11 people. So kind of how that group has met friends. But it reminded me of like, when we used to do the Adepticon, like Morton's steakhouse, but imagine that in a private room and add an RPG.
Yeah. I think we need to do
really
the
cool.
Adepticon supper club place you were telling me.
Yeah.
The supper club steakhouse.
5 o'clock
next year.
steakhouse. Absolutely.
Yeah, if I can make it.
Absolutely. So like that, meeting that group and meeting the friends that Gabe games with and hanging out was a lot of fun. So,
all right, what about any like weird moments, funny moments? Like Gen Con's such a wild thing where you see stuff you can't see anywhere else.
Yeah. So I'm sure we've all been in this scenario where a bartender can't get away from a customer. That customer is talking about the local sports team or how they want to go on a date. Only at Gen Con do you see a bartender trying to escape from that same interaction, but the customer is telling her about a role-playing game.
Oh, that poor
and their
staff in any of
character.
those cities.
And I was like, she's trapped back there. Like she can't really go anywhere. But yeah, it's that classic. When you work a booth at a con, people always want to tell you about their character.
Yeah.
I've got news for you folks. Bartenders and waitresses don't want to hear about your D&D character or whatever.
Many of them
game
won't even know what D&D is. They have no basis to understand what you're talking about.
And I was like, bless her heart for saying, yeah, I'm always learning new things when Gen Con's in town. I was like, that was the nicest way you could say that you don't care at all. Yeah. But yeah, that was it.
And I don't know if they're weird, but we are constantly scratching our head at, I mean, Ty talked about there are a lot of people, and there's plenty of reasons why you might be like in a line, like there's this people, but we just saw a lot of lines that where people like, why would you stand like, so the Sun King Brewery, when it opened up on Wednesday night or something like that?
Yeah.
And people were out in the hot, and that was hot that day. It was cool. Actually, weather actually ended, it ended up being normal. It rained one day, which it always rains one day at Gen Con, but it actually was cool one day. It was like, wow, this is like, but there
Wednesday was like 98 degrees.
And humid, and people were standing out so that they could be, I don't know what, so they could get a beer that they could have just walked anywhere. I think any bar around the area would have also had the Gen Con beer. Like, it's not like Sun King was exclusive there.
Yeah.
And so we didn't get that item like that. The will call line was also crazy on every afternoon, even, and again,
the line to get into the hall on Thursday.
You can and then and people wait, like, what are you gonna get? I don't like, there are very, very few like exclusive things in the hall, but again, people will wait at any door that they can, I guess, to that. So we just
like Disney World, you just gonna get in line.
Right. We scratched our head like, you could be doing something else and come back. Really come back in a half an hour, and you won't have, like, you could do something with your half hour.
I think the last time I went to Gen Con, I like rushed to a booth, like, oh, this is gonna sell out. It's got so much hype, and they were like, oh yeah, you made it, and then like they had stacks for like the whole everything I thought was going to be rare or like limited or whatever was just normal. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I guess I could have waited until after the convention. All right. So for those like me who couldn't be there, is there anything that you recommend to like steal some of that vibe or feel other than obviously just putting this podcast on repeat for the next 2 or 3 weeks while you commute, while you fall asleep, while you have dinner with your family? What else can we do to like
Dinner time playing and slaying?
Yeah, feel Gen Con.
Buy the Daggerheart core set because
Okay.
that's what everybody else did at Gen Con. That was gone. That was one thing where every day it was like the Darrington Press booth raff was this new board game, Solar Gardens or something, and Daggerheart was cleaned out and empty.
I thought it was an
And they
empty
had
booth every
copies of the
time
board
I
game.
walked by. Yeah.
So buy Daggerheart if you want to catch the Gen Con spirit, and then watch the Campaign 4 announcement that they did at the Critical Role live show. Because the energy in that crowd, not being there, like just seeing it like on repeat was amazing. And I think you only get that from a Gen Con Critical Role audience. And then if you can, watch the Glass Cannon Network. Went to a show with Dr. Gabe and Tom one night after we ate dinner. Glass Cannon Network is a podcast that does actual plays. They did a Call of Cthulhu kind of in modern day. It was amazing. It was funny. It was Noura Ibrahim was guesting on it and a few others. I'd never really listened, but incredibly funny. And I think they're going to put their Gen Con shows up likely on their YouTube or something after the fact. So highly entertained. But that was my how to capture Gen Con in a bottle is get Daggerheart, watch Critical Role announcement, and check out Glass Cannon Network.
Is that yours too, Troy?
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of second with Ty on that around some of that. And the only one I saw also is Becca Scott. I never saw her there, so she was probably hiding. But I know she's got a lot of videos out of all her different things she was doing. And I saw at one point she was on the baseball field, which is across the street there, doing some funny things. So so I think she has some good content out there. But otherwise, everything that Ty just said, I'll double down.
All right, and then last thing to bring it home, was there anything from this year that is like we're going to hear about for the next year? Like, how did Gen Con change you?
So I might figure out what this Gundam kind of thing kind of is around that. So, but like I was like, I'm not going to stand in line. I'm not going to get because my gut was like you were saying. I think it's gonna. They have no problem with production. They're going to get it out in the market, and once it comes down and the price is there, and I'll wait, and maybe it'll be not even a month, right? Month or two.
Yeah, I mean, the next set's already going to come out in October, I think, and I think it'll be easier to get that one, and then only easier from then on out.
So I'll kind of play for that.
Plus, the miniatures game is next year, early 2026.
So I don't. Yeah, even that might be one thing to take away, and then. I keep trying to. I think I keep getting like some solo games and even solo board game, and then so I might try and figure out like how do I carve out some time to do play some of those every once in a while to add into my stuff, and then a lot of them, right? It's one to some player, so you play it by yourself, and then share it with other people if you're like, oh, this is actually good.
I have a really nice tiny little game called A Gentle Rain. It's like this big, and it's like the perfect with your morning cup of coffee game, and it's generous to call it cooperative, like it's because it doesn't even feel like you're two different players. You're just kind of building the same thing, and you're just adding. It's like building a Lego set with a second person, but it's like someone sits down next to you. They can just start taking turns. Like it's immediate. So it's a great little solo game like that.
So if you listen to the show, I've gotten in the sports cards this year. There is a corner of the Magic the Gathering hobby that is similar in nature to sports card collecting, and that is collecting artist proofs of Magic the Gathering cards, which are highly limited and then custom like art and signed, and a lot of people get them graded and they're expensive. I may start buying more artist proofs Thanks, Gen Con. But I saw one of a print of Elena's that I love, an Innistrad Forest, and it's one of the foil ones. They do like limited runs of like 30 cards, and then the custom artwork and the signature makes it truly like a one of one. And when you put anything of a number where it's limited and it's on a card, I feel like I have to acquire it.
Those of you at home may not know that Post Malone only bought the One Ring, the Magic, the one of one ring. Ty let him have it in exchange for some concert tickets, but he actually had the winning bid on that.
Yep. Yeah, I thought, what better way to gamble away my retirement, my son's retirement, and probably his son's retirement than buying that card. So I let Post have it. But and then Gen Con, I think, does this thing, as all great game conventions do, when we talk about the rest of the year. Like, I think I'm my best self and my happiest self when I'm doing a lot of gaming. And when weeks go by where I don't play board games or I don't play an RPG, or, where I'm just like work and life and whatever, like truly it's just making sure that I recognize like that is part of my self-care is like regular gaming. And trying to just make that a part of like what I set time aside for. And I think Gen Con and Gamehole and Adepticon, they all give me that kind of renewed, like, this is my community, these are my people, and this is what I really love doing. And making sure I make a plan for like getting as much of that in as I can.
Nice. Awesome. All right. Well, that is all of the questions. So hopefully y'all enjoyed hearing about Gen Con through the eyes of Troy and Ty.
No, thanks, Raf. Thanks for being the questionnaire.
Yeah.
The interviewer, the MC, the tour guide. Yeah. No, that was fun. And thanks to Ben, Troy's brother, for lining up the hotel room, because for me, Gen Con doesn't happen if I don't have a place to stay near the convention. So I think that's how I'm going to coin flip every year if I go or not, is can I get a hotel downtown? If no, C, don't go to Gen Con. If yes, C, go to Gen Con. But thank you, Ben, for enabling the Gen Con trip for my brother and I by having the spare room. So Raf, hopefully we get you to the next one.
Yeah, my next year is up in the air, but desperately trying to go back.
But I think that'll bring us into the wrap up. Usually we say, hey, Gen Con's coming up, but we just got done with Gen Con. So now we set our sights on some of our fall conventions. I think really next up for me is going to be Gamehole Con in Madison. Third weekend in October, I believe, if I check the calendar. But great RPG Con. Alex Kammer and his crew at the Gamehole always run a fantastic show. And Madison is my favorite city in the world. So, I'll be there. Looking forward to seeing others there. I know, Troy, you've got a slew of other Dragonfall, RockCon, other things like that.
And I noticed that I did a bad job. I did not move my notes up for you, but yeah, we got Gamehole, Dragonfall, RockCon all come up in October. I will call out again, not a convention, but Dragon Days in Lake Geneva, I think, is on again this year. I think it's the last week. It's like that very last weekend of September or something like that. It's been a blast to go the last couple of years around that, to see how Lake Geneva finally celebrates kind of the historic, Dungeons and Dragons and gaming and things like that. And you still have some of the old guard that shows up for that around some of the too. So if you get a chance, it's fun. It's a nice day trip into there. Hopefully, if the weather cooperates. So,
all right, and as always, please like, subscribe, click the things in the corners on YouTube, add us to your downloads, and send us feedback. It's so rare we hear from our dear friends and listeners. So drop us a line. info@basementofdeath.com. Hit us up on the website, basementofdeath.com or playinandslayin.com. And certainly, just make sure you are also visiting Goonhammer and the Media Network, checking out some of the other great shows there. There really is something for everyone, and a lot of different games represented. Raf, any last things you want to plug or mention before the classic show close?
No, just thank you as always for letting me join you guys. I love talking with you guys. It's fun.
Appreciate you being here.
Yep.
Troy, appreciate another Gen Con wingman driving us down and back. As always, a good time. So we'll be back for Gen Con 2026. But for now, friends, keep the dice rolling, the drinks on ice, and no matter what, keep playing and slaying.